The Apostle Herb passed away in 1942, and until the Chief Apostle Helper Schlupphoff came to visit in 1944, we had no apostle in North America. In 1944, he ordained the District Apostle John P. Fent, and in 1947, ordained the Apostle Hebe. The Chief Apostle Helper Schlupphoff was very instrumental in establishing the fire for expansion into foreign countries, into the heart of our district apostle. Here we see the Kraus family of that time. On the left, Mike and Hilda, then Sister Kraus Sr., known to many of us as Mutter, Mary and Andy Kraus, his brother, his sister Katie, and her husband, George Kreitner. Mike and Andy worked together in construction, and they also worked together as district evangelist and evangelist. But just because they were natural and spiritual brothers, it didn't mean that they saw eye to eye on everything. Once they both stomped out of the house and headed in opposite directions. When they met around the block, they looked at each other and they reconciled. And Mike said, "We must be reconciled and nothing can ever come between us." Despite all of their fierce determination, they had learned that reconciliation paves the way to forgiveness. Unfortunately, but in accordance with God's decision, Andy Kraus entered eternity in 1949 and his sister Katie Kreitner in 1953. As the senior ministry in Canada, many of the marriages were performed by Mike Kraus, including that of Irvin and Rose Wagner. I'm sure that many of us remember standing on those same steps. We greeted brothers and sisters, family and friends. I have to admit that I really don't remember this particular wedding, but I know that's my sister Sandy on the left. Watch the expression on the ring bearer's face change. Oh, now we know why. In 1951, Michael Kraus became a bishop. In the 50s, Canada was under the District Apostle Fent, seen here with the Bishop Kraus and the Apostle Hibby. These United States dignitaries, our blessing bearers in Canada, made numerous trips. I vividly remember the cars parked on Louisa Street as they came to visit the Krauses. The District Apostle Fent conducted many confirmations then in Kitchener, Toronto, and Hamilton. But they came particularly each and every spring to celebrate the birthday of Michael Kraus. Here we see the Apostle Hibby. On the left, District Elder Kirschler, Bishop Strang, District Elder Kreitner, the District Apostle Fent, with, of course, Michael Kraus. Bishop Kiechler, the District Elder Sigmund. Birthdays were always a special event at that time. And here we see Michael Kraus, the bashful Michael Kraus. Steal a kiss. Kraus, the father of the District Apostle Wagner. And of course, you can see that we have all kept the tradition of fellowship alive, which has to include food. but with all good things it must come to an end. The district apostles, Mother, Mutter, seen here with their sons, was a fixture at many of these occasions of fellowship. I'm not sure when this next footage occurred, but there are some familiar faces. There's Edelgard Lutterer hiding away into the kitchen. Sister Paulette Shipling. Sister Mutka, Priest Mutka. I believe those are the Ecksteins hiding behind the flowers. Katie Kreutner coming out of the kitchen. And if you look carefully down in the bottom left corner, you will see the future Sister Latorsai, my sister Evie, being cuddled by her grandmother. Here's an old friend of Canada, the District Elder Runge. From the United States, he was responsible for our congregations in Canada through the mid-30s and the 40s. Look at some of these young faces. Virtually all of them have remained. They are faithful, lifelong members. Many of them became administration brothers and their wives. Why? They had learned to cling to their blessing bearers. They'd learned to cling to our Heavenly Father. And they remained friends. Here we see a hungry Michael Kraus. Early songsters, Henry Hennigy, Jerry Nentwick, Don Smith, Irvin Wagner. This is when I really wish we had sound. Irvin and Rose Wagner. Don and Irene Smith, Rose and Joe Fennell, and their hosts that evening, George and Katie Kreutner. If you look carefully on this next film, you'll catch a glimpse as well of Darlene Storer, right there. Herb Pocky, George Hendel. I think this was their version of In the Circle of Our Youth. Here's another nice example of the fellowship in those days. On the left, we see, at that time, Anne Kraus and her cousin, Ruth Lesher, on the occasion of their confirmation. April the 3rd, 1955. The District Apostle's daughter, Anne, is, of course, now married to the Apostle Harold Eckert. Unfortunately, I don't recognize many of these faces, but again, in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a rascal, and I think you'll know him. Nelson Kraus. Later in 1955, the Bishop Kraus became an apostle. And the next year, the chief apostle bishop, already high in his 80s, came to visit both the United States and Canada. Here in Kitchener, he conducted a big service at the Kitchener Auditorium. It was attended by over 4,000 people. They traveled on